Thanks for joining me here for another episode of Storytime. Today's story is one that was published in March of this year of 2021 on Commuter Lit, and it's called Right Wrist or Left. Right wrist or left. Marigold stopped still, not sure which was correct. Where did she wear her watch? On the right side or the left? Maybe if she put it on. She slipped the gold tone elastic band over the fingers of her left hand, pushed it past her bony wrist, looked at it for a minute, and then switched the watch to the other arm. Both seemed right. Or was it that both looked wrong? She just wasn't sure. Marigold closed her eyes and quickly opened them again, hoping that when she would look to see what time it was, she would instinctively look either to the left side or the right. But that didn't work either. Instead, her eyes went to the clock on the wall. But it can't be only 4:30, she reasoned. It was far too light in her small bedroom. Even with the blinds closed, the early morning sunshine found a way to slip in between the grimy slats to illuminate the single bed, the slightly dusty nightstand. The woman reflected in the dresser mirror. I must have forgotten to change the battery, she said aloud, and then looked back down at her watch. At this point, she was willing to settle for just finding out what time it really was, regardless of which hand her watch wanted to call home. But there was something wrong, and it took her another minute or two to figure out that she had put the watch on upside down and the numbers were standing on their head. If she didn't change it, she would never be able to tell what time it was. Take it off, she told herself, and obediently she removed the watch and set it on the dresser tray, deciding she would finish dressing before tackling again the right wrist, left wrist conundrum. First the white blouse, then her 3-button navy blazer. Last night she had mended its torn pocket. And how long had it been that way? How many people saw the tear and wondered what else about me needed fixed? Thinking she had used the right color thread, but in the morning light, she saw that the thread was black. Everyone will see that, but I don't have time to restitch it, and it took all Marigold's willpower to stop her fingers from picking at the visible reminder of her incompetence. Shoes. Put on your shoes. They at least should be perfect. She had polished them just this morning while waiting for her coffee to brew. But after she slipped them on, she noticed that she had smeared black polish on the inside edge of the right shoe, because now there was a dark smudge on the inside of her foot, like a high tide marker left from a black sea. Just then, Marigold heard the 6 o'clock whistle from the nearby factory. Where had the time gone? And now it was too late. Too late to restitch the pocket, too late to scrub the mark from her foot, too late to redo any other task she might have performed inadequately, incorrectly, all wrong. She had to hurry if she would make it to work on time. So that is just a brief excerpt from my short story, Right Wrist or Left, which, as I said, was recently published in Commuter Lit. This story has an interesting beginning to it. I was traveling out to Arizona from Ohio to visit a friend of mine. I had spent the last, 6, 7, 8 months with my father, who had had a heart attack. And first I flew to Florida, where he had his surgery, stayed down there through the whole in-hospital, in inpatient care, through the rehab and everything, and then had brought him up to Ohio so he could finish his outpatient rehab. Anyways, so as you can imagine, a lot of stress, a lot of concern, a lot of worry, because my dad was at the time 90 years old. So a 90-year-old going through a major heart operation is not exactly something you can just relax about. Anyways, he had recovered. He was determined to go back to Florida and resume his life. So when he flew down there, when I got him back down there and was settled and came back home, I wanted to go spend just 5 days out at my girlfriend's in Arizona. We hadn't seen each other in several years. And it was like, okay, I'm not not taking care of Dad now. I can take this little break. I had not anticipated how stressed I had been, how the stress had been piling up. Okay, so drove to the airport, got my bags out of the trunk, and took my suitcase onto the bus that would take me to the terminal. The first indication that perhaps I was a little more stressed than I realized was when the bus driver turned to me and said, don't you want your laptop case? I left it sitting there by my car. Okay, that was very unusual. Went out, got the laptop case, thanked her very much. Went into the terminal, checked my bag, and was sitting there and went to see what time it was. So of course, looked at the watch on my wrist and wasn't sure if I had put the watch on the right hand, on the correct hand, I should say. I couldn't for the life of me figure out which side do I wear my watch on, the left side or the right side. I know that sounds very bizarre. And again, this is a testament to how totally stressed I was at this point. And, you know, I was switching the watch from left to right. Neither one of them felt wrong. Neither one of them felt right. And I was really becoming very alarmed because to me, this is a sign of, boy, there's something really wrong with you if you don't even know which side your watch goes on, right? So it was very interesting. You know, academically, it was interesting to think a person could be so stressed that they are that confused about something so basic. Personally, it was very interesting and more than a little frightening because I'm thinking, wow, what else is wrong with me that I don't realize? But again, there is some part of your writer's brain that never shuts off. And in this particular instance, my writer's brain was thinking, you know what? When you recover from this bit of stress, upset, bizarreness in your little brain, this would be an interesting story, wouldn't it? And so from that particular uncomfortable situation, and by the way, the watch belongs on my left hand, from that situation came the story, right wrist or left. There will be a link in the show notes to the entire story so that you could find out what happens to Marigold next. And don't even ask me where I came up with the name Marigold. I don't know, but somehow it just seemed to fit. But the issue she had with her watch, let us say, is just the tip of the iceberg. And as you read what happens next in the story, you will find out exactly to what degree Marigold is not quite operating with a full deck here. She's not playing with a full deck. So thanks so much for listening to Right Wrist or Left, or at least the excerpt of it. And I hope you will click on the link and go read the entire story on Commuter Lit and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Did you find it interesting, intriguing? Have you ever had an experience like that in your life, or known somebody who just gets confused about the most basic things? Thanks so much for joining me.